This last question is going to be addressed to both of you. This will be part of your closing statement in 5 minutes. We'll start with you, Mr. Tubbs. Why should the voters in your congressional district vote for you?
Excellent question. Why should you? Well, let me start with what I said earlier. George Miller has been a congressman for this district for 35 years and done some good things for us. I am not taking any of that away from him. What I am saying is the future, the 21st century that we are living in, has some big challenges ahead. Some really big problems are looming, and we're in the middle of many of them. Whether it's healthcare, whether it's immigration, whether it's this spending, whether it's the water issue in California. Should put it on speaker. I want them to hear them. Maybe I'll win their vote. All of these issues have been building over all this time. And it's going to take fresh ideas, people with different experiences, because what's been working in Washington for the last several decades, helping some things, but not addressing the looming issues that we have before us. We cannot keep doing things the same way that we've been doing them. These big spending ideas that take more of your tax dollars, add up to more deficits, are not going to work. I talk about it. We've been on the Niagara River, and it's been calm, it's been nice, and our leaders have been saying, keep going this way, it's all good. The problem is there is those waterfalls ahead, and we're going towards them. And we need leaders in Congress that recognize that and are willing to take the bold steps, bring in the new solutions that have worked elsewhere. I have done this budget philosophy that I talked about in the military, in my small business, and in my family. It works, and it will work in Washington. It's having the will to say no more spending on this stuff. It's having the will or the energy and the creativity to say, here's a better idea. Here's a way we can get this done and do it cheaper and better. This is the 21st century. We can get it done. Folks, why you should vote for me is because, yes, I'm a Republican, and I have no problem telling you that. But I am a Republican that comes from a background that gives me a lot of experience, life experience, as well as professional experience to understand you and your concerns. I am a normal guy with some extraordinary experience. And so when I go to Washington to represent you, I am going to be fighting for each one of you in this room. These people, I love them, I know them, lots of them here. I feel the same way about you. And I will fight for you and for what's best for you. Well, we'll disagree on some things. Absolutely. We will disagree on some things. But you know where I'm coming from. You know that my number one priority is to put our financial house in order so our children have the same opportunities, the same American dream that I got to live. I'm a kid that grew up on welfare. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force, an airline pilot. I've got a wonderful life. I'm not rich, no way, but I'm doing okay, and my kids are having a great life. I want to make sure my grandkids have a great life. Right now, I don't see it happening if this red is allowed to continue. Why I am asking for your vote and why you can have the confidence in me to represent you is because you know from today forward that this is my priority. This is what I'll go to Washington and work on. It will be shared sacrifice, but if we just spread it out across to everybody, if we work on it together and appropriately, I'm not asking the poor to pay the equal amount as the rich. It's got to be equal. But we all rely on the federal government too much. And the federal government spends too much and borrows too much. It has to stop. When I hit the ground running on January 5th as your congressman, that is what I'm going to do for you, and that is why I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.
I think I deserve to be reelected because of the service that I have given this district the time that I have been in the Congress of the United States. I've been there to make the tough choices, to make the tough fights on behalf of working families and behalf of the economics of this district over those years. This is not an easy job. It's a hard job. It's a wonderful job. It's an honor to be given this forum by the people that I represent to participate in this government in this fashion where we have open debate and we have open differences. But you do have to make some tough choices. I appreciate that Rick Wundt doesn't like the 1099 provision of the health care law, but his entire party voted against the repeal of that, even though the Chamber of Commerce and the NFIB small businesses supported it. They preferred to have the political issue as opposed to the solution. I appreciate he's against the privatization of Social Security, except his entire party is on record for the privatization of Social Security and changing Medicare to a voucher program. So this isn't about, quote, abstract solutions. These are about tough choices that you have to make. I appreciate he would go to Washington and raise hell in Washington at his desk and pound on the desk to get the ships from the mothball fleet to Vallejo. The problem wasn't in Washington. The problem was finding a private sector company that had the financial wherewithal to make the bid. We do this in the private sector. We don't do this in the government. The problem was here, in the private sector. I know this district. I grew up in this district. I've worked in the refineries. I worked in the canneries. I worked on road crews. I worked as an operating engineer. I worked on tugboats. I worked on oil tankers in this bay. I worked every moment of my spare time. My wife and I have been married for 47 years. I've had to work from the get-go. And I understand what it means to work and to hold the job together and to hold the budget together. I appreciate he balanced a military budget. It's almost an oxymoron. There's so much money flowing into the military. If you can't budget that budget, you can't balance any budget. They never saw a reduction. So let's just understand, there's a world of difference between that and trying to deal with this. You're looking at the only person in Congress that wrote legislation that was introduced by me as a progressive member of Congress, took a lot of heat, that said we should be on pay-as-you-go. If you believe something's so important, either raise taxes or cut another program. It took me 10 years to get that passed into law. As a result of that, for the first time since World War II, America had 3 years of balanced budgets, and we handed off a surplus to George Bush with a projected surplus of $5 trillion. What is the first thing the Republicans did when they came into control of the Congress with George Bush? They repealed pay-as-you-go. Because just like Rick Tubbs, they wanted to give a tax cut to the wealthiest people in the country, but they didn't want to be held accountable for it. When I passed the law to lower the interest rates for those students and their families taking out loans, to increase the Pell Grant so middle-class families can have help with college, every nickel of it was paid for in a knockdown fight with the big banks and the lenders of this country to end the subsidies that we were giving them to loan the government's money to the students. George Bush the first said these were wasteful subsidies. Bill Clinton said these were wasteful subsidies. George Bush the second said they were wasteful subsidies. Barack Obama was the first president that had the courage to get rid of them and recycle them on behalf of America's families. No deficit to that program. In fact, $10 billion contributed to the deficit of that program. So what do we have? We have a major investment in our community colleges. We have a major investment in America's families and its students and the future of its education system. That's very important. We also believe that driving driving small businesses will help us with the deficit. So we provided 8 tax cuts in this last year to small businesses. A payroll tax cut to help with hiring, one of the most successful programs. It ran out of money because so many small businesses used it 8 months ago, and the Republicans still haven't let us take a vote on it to replenish it so the banks and the small businesses can engage in hiring. Net operating losses, to help small business recover the taxes they paid when times were good, to help them stay in business today and to be able to buy inventory to stay in business. Change the expenses rules, increase the amount that you can immediately expense. Change the depreciation rules to increase the amount that can be accelerated depreciation. And in fact, I tour businesses all the time when I'm home that have started to take advantage of the few things we were able to pass. But those were voted en masse against by the Republican Party. This is a choice, folks. This is a choice about the future of this country. Working families, working people,